one of those questions Dave sent me was about like what I want to see. More concepts, 998s, please. Can I get that? Can I just that's my wheelhouse.
And they're supposed to be on hiatus, so like I think someone asked Joe Grandin about the 998 and the 997. Like, when can we expect to see more? And he had answered like in his stories and said, not for a while. They're going to take a little bit of a break or something to that effect. So I feel like, yeah, that's sort of a bummer. And so that kind of leads into one of the questions that I asked too, which was like, or I was thinking about, which was the last 2 years, it seems like New Balance is really focused on a lot of made in Asia stuff for their lifestyle like offerings. And I know it's probably a lot because of the pandemic and things like that. So they can't rely on like, production in Boston or production up in Maine. I think for me, that was a big draw, was being able to buy made in USA, like 998s, 997s, even the 99S when they like, introduced that originally, it was made in the US. So, an MB1, like greatest thing ever. So like I was hoping we could talk about that and like what are people's thoughts on like how there's that shift.
I think you hit the nail on the head, David. I think, especially being someone who came into this a little bit later in the game than some of, I don't think I'm new school or old school in this. Like, I like what I like kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think the line of demarcation between the new and the old is that most people speak to the US, UK shoes as being like the ones you chase. And now some of these that are popping up, like the Jaden Smiths, I'm out on that. Like, and I don't know where the 827s are, the ALD 827s are coming out of, but when I start hearing people talk about like where the shift is, most of the old school guys, only preach US, UK, and not any of the Asian, shoes that are popping up, like the 327s, for example. That's a good one.
Who else bought these? I bet you a lot of people slept on these.
I didn't sleep on them. I just didn't like the shininess of is that supposed to be alligator or something, or snake?
Yep. Yeah, like a croc skin.
I like the look 1,000,000%. I didn't like the shininess of it. I'm weird. I like texture.
Even better when I got them on sale for like $90.
Good luck with that now. I think right now that same shoe's on eBay for $180 and they won't come off of it. They won't haggle with you because it's all hype right now.
Yeah.
So like, Paolo, what do you think about like the new made in Asia stuff from New Balance? I know you're like,
hey,
I don't want to say OG, but you're there.
Hey, I like some of that stuff. Like the 2002s are really nice, I think.
Yeah.
Nice silhouette, really nice shoe. I like the colors that they've come out with. I like the 327s. The only problem I have with the 327s is that shoe going to hold the test of time? I'm not sure it's going to. I think the shelf life on that shoe is probably another year or two, maybe. But I don't see that.
As far as the style, you mean? As far as like how it looks?
Or the materials. Yeah. The materials are weird.
I think you're right. I do like them. I think it's got like a cool mix of new and old. If it can hold, like if it's retro enough looking, then it may hold up over time. But it might just be
super comfortable shoe.
Yeah, they're fun, and they're like $90 or something. So it was easy for me when they were like, at first they were hard to get, even the GRs, but then they re-released some of the GRs, nabbed them for retail or below, and I'm super happy.
They kind of did that.
It's a fun one to wear. People really notice it. It's
yeah,
wicked.
They do. I mean, whenever I wear my Concepts ones, people are like, what are those? And they remind me a little bit on the top of them. When I look at the top of that shoe, especially the toe box, it reminds me a lot of the Wave Runner for some reason. So, I mean, I like the stuff they're doing. I'm not against the Asian stuff being built in Asia and all that stuff. I would love to see more 992s, 998s. The 992 is a different topic. I like the shoe. I don't love the shoe. 998s would be great. 997s, obviously. But, I think we can solve that issue pretty quickly is if we get MB1 back.
Yeah.
And then that resolves everything. Cause I could play with that stuff all day long.
Yeah. And I think, you bring up the 992, it's going to die. Like, I just think, what Joe Freshgood did with that 992, he showed what was possible, but a lot of these collabs that are coming after it, like, I'm just not seeing it. And, my favorite 992 is just the gray pair, right? Or, I like the purple. I really like solid palettes. And when I say solid, of course, there's grays and whites and all that. So I'm not talking about from top to bottom, but, that Joe Freshgood shoe is amazing, but then I think that's what really drew people into this. I think that's the jump off point, and then people are expecting to get that, and they're going after all those 992s, and you're seeing the spike in the 992s. And hey, I bought my dad 992s because when you start looking at what the numbers mean, they mean something different to each person
Exactly.
that wears them. My dad's a big dude, so I bought him a pair of 992s because it fit his foot, and he was a runner, and he's a large runner. So I was like, okay, and those are comfortable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that shoe, it was great for New Balance, and then I think it's bad for New Balance in the sense that I don't think you can replicate what it did. Like, and what's sad, and I actually talked to Joe, and he said that shoe is never coming out again. So if you got it, you got it. If you didn't, you didn't. And so. Yep. I think they're chasing something that will never exist again. And I think Ronnie and the Kith, the Kith 992, I think that's a good shoe. Is it worth $1,000? No. And what's the other one that's from
Concepts did two of them too. Now they're not technically collaborations, they're just exclusive releases.
The Plaid?
Yeah, the Plaid, which I didn't really care for that much. The other one I liked a lot more.
Didn't the Plaid get a wider release though?
I think the Plaid one did. The one that's got the purple hues on it and the aqua didn't.
Yeah.
I think that only released there.
Wasn't the Kith an exclusive as well? Like, it wasn't technically a collab. It was a...
Yep, it was just exclusive. Yep, just like the Factor shoe.
The CL colorway, right? The CL colorway was...
That's right.
Yep. 992s are cool. I've always said it, and I always consider the 993 is a better shoe.
It is infinitely better, hands down.
I love that shoe.
Yeah, I think so. This year, I actually got the 992 gray and the 993 gray, and I wear the 993 gray so much more. To me, it's infinitely better. Just so much more comfortable. Looks so much better on foot. I think the other thing that I noticed about the 992s this year was there was a little bit of quality control issues on a few pairs. Like, I think my gray pair, it started to pull away, at the sole. So you could see like glue stains and like where it was starting to separate. So, that was something that was sort of new for New Balance. And I don't know if it was because it was rushed or what, but that kind of turned me off a little bit. But
I thought the sizing on the shoe was very different too. Normally with like a made in the USA shoe, I'm really like a size 9, and that 992, the 992 is very narrow in the toe box. I felt like it was very narrow. Could just be me. Maybe my foot got fatter. I don't know. It just felt weird. The shoe just felt weird to me.
David, you brought up the rush. Did any of y'all catch any of the was it Kithmas? I got the red pair, and I was so disappointed in the quality, and it felt rushed. And if y'all look at the back of it, it says, was it Ronnie's last name on it?
Yeah.
It's like it's not stitched. It's lasered or plastic lasered or whatever they do.
And I don't think I would have bought that shoe for that reason. I don't want to shoe
until it's in my hand. Like,
I just don't want a shoe with another man's name on it. If it's a Kith, I would have preferred that over Feig. It's just
I was just the quality of it seemed rushed. Just like David was saying, I think the quality of it was not what it should be. Like it was disappointing is what it was.
Could that be a result of quarantine?
Did they move a lot of those made in USA? Like, did they stop doing that in general, or made in UK?
I'm pretty sure it did. I mean, we had a lot of factories like I know the main factory, Dave, where a lot of the MB1s come out of. Yeah. They were shut down for forever, you know. So maybe that's the issue, is things were rushed.
Well, so I talked to somebody at New Balance, and I know that from what I know, a lot of their stuff got canceled. A lot of the stuff that they were doing had to get slowed down. And so, like, you know, instead of 100 people producing, you know, 1,000 shoes, you got 50 people producing, you know, 200 shoes because, you know, of space and time. So, you know, deadlines I know got pushed around. I know they had to cancel a lot of things this year. And from what I was told, they're not going to be back up to, you know, 100% until probably Q4 of this year. And that's if everything goes well with, you know, like vaccine rollout and everything. So there was a lot of stuff that sort of got canceled, pushed, delayed, whatever. So I think that did affect things like the Ronnie shoe. But on the same side,
we forgot that part. Those two of those shoes are just hideous. I
completely agree. And I thought everyone says that I was crazy, but I was like, man, only one that looked good was the red one. Like, that's it.
Did any of you guys get the Joe Fresh Goods pair?
No, I wanted them.
That was the best shoe of the year last year, hands down. I don't care what anybody tells me. I know there's a lot of haters that hate Joe Fresh Goods for what he did, which is total ridiculousness because the guy's really come up and done really well. Yeah. I knew who he was. I knew who he was before this, and there's a lot of people that hate on him because they didn't know what he was doing before. So, but I heard
the hate is that shoe's one step away from an MB1. That's anybody I talk to.
I think you could make it on MB1, and then they pulled some of those colors. Is what I understand.
Yep, they did. Yep.
But that's where
there was a guy who was like selling like Air Max 1s that were Nike IDs, and just like putting his own name and then selling them for like $1,000. Did you guys hear about this? And it sort of reminded me when I was looking at the Joe Fresh, because apparently you could make it on MB1, and they pulled some of the colors.
Yeah, I think that was Dave. I think that was one of Mike's friends there. I can't remember his name. Was this recent, Josh, or was this like?
I'm not sure. Maybe we don't want to say his name. I don't know. It just seems kind of like
either, but
that's
you could just go on Nike ID and make the shoe for yourself. You know, $200 for the shoe.
Yep.
You could do the same thing with the NB1. The color blocking is really great, and I do feel like it was a new direction that we hadn't really seen on the NB1. They're mostly like one or two colors. To throw 3 or 4 or 5 colors on there, and even like the bright blue laces, it brought the the 992. It brought it into like a new look. It did something fresh with it.
But I think that's part of the purists don't like that you could have just created that shoe, and that to me, that's where I hear the hate for Joe Fresh Good is that I could have done that, but that's the same hate when I bring up the Clark Kent 998. Oh, that's one step away from an MB1, and you're just like,
yeah.
But he did it, like he did it. So why are we hating? Like, why are we angry about it? And you got some hardcore New Balance folks that will speak very illy of both of those shoes, and you're just like, why? Like,
I think people were really upset about Joe Fresh too, because there wasn't enough time for people to really jump on the 992 MB1. It was on there for like a month or two before they ended up shutting down. And so like there was all this anticipation for, MB1 and the 992 to hit MB1, and then it shut down. And then so you're either stuck getting, gray, tan,
navy.
And I think
which is like a lot of collabs in the last little while.
Yeah, and then collabs, and then that's pretty much what you were stuck with for like the first 2 quarters of the year. And so like people were kind of upset about it. Like, and I get it. Like, I feel the same way. I'm kind of like, all right, if you're not going to give me access to the collaborations, if I'm not going to be able to get in there, then at least give me some way to purchase something unique on my own. And I think that ability wasn't there, for a lot of the year, for the whole, for most of the year, actually, so
that's
really
our fault.
was disappointing.
Dave, that's our fault. We should have gone to All-Star Weekend. We would have gotten a pair.
Yeah. I think I was actually in Hawaii the week that the Joe Fresh goods dropped. So I had like no shot. Like there was just, I couldn't get a pair even if I wanted a pair,
What's that shoe now? 2K?
You can get them for like 12, I think. And I wear a 9 like you do, Paolo. So you can get them for like 12.
Okay. Not bad.
This has been a weird year. I feel like there's more shoes in the last year than in the history of sneakers that have surpassed $1,000. This is off topic, but I just feel like so many dunks are plus 1,000 plus. It was like huge grails before 4 years ago were $1,000, if that. Now there's like every other collab, it seems. Even New Balance, like $1,000 New Balance was unheard of a couple of years ago.
Yep.
I think that could be part of their downturn, though, to be honest with you. Like, sneakers in general, and if I could, where I started is where many other people started. I started with the Jordan 4, and go back to those times. I'm a kid of the 80s. Like, how many options did you really have? Yeah, I know you had a lot of options, but the local Foot Locker by my house didn't have a million different options. Mm-hmm. So you picked the freshest, you picked the coolest, and then you rocked it. And you didn't care if it was comfortable or not, right? And to me now, this oversaturation of the market, like I got back into it, and I've hit Dave up about it before, about my thinning of my herd. It's because I got too much stuff, and like there's just too many colorways. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a Jordan 1 hater, but I got rid of all my Jordans because I'm like, man, how many colorways can you come up with the Jordan 1? And I feel like New Balance, if they're going to continue to do that, they're not going to exist either, because people are getting like, I don't like all of these options. Like,
I think what makes New Balance strong right now is the fact that they're coming out with new silhouettes, and we're liking them. I mean, a few years ago, the X90, what's that, 2 years ago that came out? I think that's a great shoe. I really do.
And it's dead.
It's an awesome shoe. It's still very relevant, I think. I mean, I don't see people post it as much, but I think it's a great shoe. It's an awesome shoe. Yeah. Is that the size club? No.
This is the Chinese New Year.
Chinese New Year, yeah. Like that shoe to me was, I think that came like 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
I thought that was the best new silhouette of the year.
It was amazing. It was amazing. And then they killed it though. And so they killed it off. And so like the question that I find myself coming back to with New Balance is, okay, all the new stuff, like people really like it. People really like the new stuff, right? So, but do they like it because they like it, or do they like it because the market is telling them that that's the thing to like? Because, and this is the thing, we got 2 great 997s this year. Todd Snyder dropped a 997 in May, and then he dropped another one at Christmas, and they both sat for a week because I got mine a few days after the release because I waffled on them a bit, and then I grabbed them both, and they were both amazing, both great quality, but no one was wearing them. No one was thinking about 997s outside of us New Balance people. So my question is is it really I think the 327 is a cool shoe, but is it going to stand a test of time, or is it going to be a Boost shoe? Mm-hmm. Like you said, is it going to be like Boost was, where everyone's crazy about it, but then 2 years from now, it's dead, because they're sitting right now on New Balance, right? So they brought the GRs back, and they're just sitting there because they were there, right before Christmas, and they're still there, and my size is still there. So that's how that there's something going on. So now I'm kind of questioning, is the 327 all it's hyped up to be?
I think you have.
It's maybe like the New Balance equivalent of Asics Gel My that came back. It was like this weird 97, 98 shoe. Super wacky. Like, it's not for everyone. And they did a handful of collabs, and then the shoe disappeared. And now no one wants it, of course.
I think you have a
I
group.
feel like the 327 might disappear in a couple months, and people will be like, "Oh yeah, that shoe, the 327."
I think you have a group of people that it's where the hype is attached to, though, right? You start the hype of last year starts with the 992, right? And then you have these people that are trying to recapture that magic of that on different canvases. And something I am noticing on the resale market, because I don't always get a nice little retail price, is that you got some of these resellers catching bricks on some of these New Balances. Because they don't know what is or what isn't, or what New Balance culture is going to buy these certain things. And so when you have those hype beasts out there with the JJJ 992s and the ALD with the 997s, okay, those hit, but there's also some that aren't hitting. And like Dave, you bring up, and you're the one, you caused me to go buy that Todd Snyder. Thank you. I love that shoe. That Christmas one. That's on point. That's a badass shoe. But I don't think they know what we want, right? And the people that are interested more in the classic 998s, 997s, 990s, they're trying and they're throwing stuff. This one, like the Kawhis, right? Did y'all ever, did y'all get the championship 990 or the 997? Like
those are still on the site, I think, too.
And I'm talking about the actual Raptors color ones. Like,
oh no, yeah,
997.
Yeah.
But like people don't know where. I mean, the resellers don't know which one to go after, and so you're gonna find some like the Todd Snyder that just sat there because they don't even know what that is, and they don't know that Todd Snyder has been doing these collabs, right? The Hudson stations and all that. They don't know that, and so they don't know who to go after and which one to buy because when they do figure it out, they push that price up, and then they cause people like me to sit there and be like, well, I guess I'm not getting that one.
So, I mean, the 327, so we're in the Northeast, Dave. So I kind of look at that shoe as a summer shoe.
Yeah.
I don't really I'm not going to wear that in the winter. I'm just not going to. So maybe it's a summer shoe. I don't know. But I don't think it's going to, I think it's going to be gone basically. Going to your discuss on the JJs, that shoe, I don't understand what the big deal is about that shoe. I really don't. It's not a big deal. The 992 to me is like, I
agree completely.
It's so overhyped. It's ridiculous. Like, for what?
It could have been a general release. I think it's one of those shoes where it's like throw a name on it, the right model. It's a nice looking shoe, but I don't get it either. But
I had never even heard of that shop or you know what I mean, or that brand. So like, it's really not relevant to me, And anybody who says it is lying, because I would say 5% of the people have heard about that place.
Yeah, I knew who Jound was, and I wasn't a big fan. I wasn't like chasing their releases. They had done some stuff with Reebok and a few other brands. But the only reason I liked the 992 that they released was because I like green shoes and I wanted a green 992. And like the minute it became more than that is the minute that I was like, all right, well, so much for that. Like it wasn't a big deal. Like, because I think the blue 992 came out a few months ago, and then I was like, all right, I'm just gonna get blue, like, and 992s are even sitting. Like I picked up a pair the other day, and it was just, they're just sitting at like New Balance stores, and I call one up, hey, you have this in a 13? Sure. And like that's crazy to me now, considering where we are. So I don't know if ALD's not doing the shoe or if someone's not collaborating, is it really going to start hitting? Because I think like Garet, like you said, people are catching bricks, and like if they're not selling, if they're not flipping it like immediately or soon, then I think that is starting to really like change the market for New Balance. And so like, for me, I think I really want to just see the traditional players. Like I like Todd Snyder, I like J. Crew, I like Concepts, and I want to see them in the game, making collaborations without me having to worry about like being able to get them.
And I think you add some other guys in there that it's not as hyped, like Stray Rats out of Miami. Like I got both of those pairs of 990s and they're awesome. Like they just are. Especially the black one, the black with the orange laces. Like those are awesome. Like those are amazing shoes. But they're affordable and you can find them and you can get them. And I hear you all East Coast folks, your availability to pick it up. If I go into the local Dallas store, I can't get a 992. They don't even, I know they tier those stores, right? And so, you were talking, Paolo, you were talking about the 993s. Oh, you can go into the what do they call those? The
outlet.
The outlets, man. That's nothing but 993s and the outlets. And that's what I was like, how rare could these be? Like, but I think unfortunate, we're fighting with the bots now, right? And I think us that came from Nike, which was me, and I'm aware of how awful Sneakers app is and all that. That's who you're fighting with now. You're fighting with these kids that they just want to flip it. And when they hear about a name, they're going to chase that name, and including Jaden Smith, which I don't get it, but whatever. I'm not going.
Did those ones get hyped? I feel like no one cared.
No, they sold out. They sold out. Yeah, they dropped the blue,
really?
the black and the white ones, I think, Monday or Tuesday, and they were gone.
Yeah, gone.
Not even on my radar. That sole is so awful. I don't get it.
It looks like a
different, whatever.
I'm confused about it. It looks like a sailboat, But I think part of the community and why I appreciate New Balance community in general is that you all talk about stuff. I learned from, watching, say, David's thing here, and I talk to other people in the community that will hip you to what is what, and they keep it real with you. And I picked up that Pata 920, and because Robert said to, he said that was the best shoe of 2020, right? And he was right. And I was like, okay, I'll take a shot on this. And it was at a level that the hype beasts weren't going after it. And so you could get it. But then once now it became
that model, nice.
Look at that 991 now. That's it kills my soul. Like I want that shoe, but I don't want to pay. I saw 700 on StockX.
For what?
For the 992 Pata. Like I'm like, come on now.
Nice shoe, but
yeah. No.
But that's what you're gonna get. You get pushed out because certain, again, hype beasts are, they saw how good the 920 was, and then they're like, okay, let me chase this 991, and you couldn't get it. And I'm not gonna try to get something at like midnight or whenever it was that it dropped, because it dropped in the Netherlands or whatever.
Yeah.
See, I mean, New Balance. I'm not gonna change. I don't want to change the subject, but one of the important things about New Balance is the customer service is huge. Impeccable. I mean, a few years ago I bought I can't remember when it came out, the Ronnie Fi, they had the detachable ends, the 574 Sport.
Yeah,
I did a video, I remember, on YouTube of it, and it was just like a horrible, like, made in Asia, but there was shit it was just that horrible pair, glue, really bad. And somebody that was at New Balance, who's no longer there now, reached out to me, and then Tim took care of me, Dave. And I had bought this from Kith. I didn't buy it from New Balance.
Mm-hmm.
They sent me a new pair. They didn't even ask for the other pair. They sent me a new pair. They're like, here you go. So, and then they ended up gifting me the Hyannis pair. So it, and I got a Concepts pair too. They hooked up too, but to me, that's kind of always left kind of a really important kind of affinity and like relationship that I have with the brands versus I don't bring up their name, begins with an S, where I show them what's wrong with the shoe and there's scratches on the shoe and they say, oh, doesn't that gives it a nice touch, doesn't it? I'm like, no, man, it doesn't. It does not. So, and I'm still gonna give them a chance again, Dave. Don't worry, I know you love them, but I'm gonna give them another chance. But I think that's important. I mean, Nike, end of the day, when you are buying stuff from them, you're just another consumer. Nike is they're a marketing firm. They know what they're doing. They're a marketing firm. New Balance, on the other hand, is kind of, and I don't know what the roots are for you guys with New Balance, I know as a younger guy, I did have some because I lived in Boston area, and they were cheap to get. The outlets and the factories are right there, so you could get, a pair of 574s or
yeah.
And I hate that shoe. I always hated that shoe, but because of how I grew up, it was kind of like, well, this shoe's only $30 for you kids at the outlet, so this is what you're gonna get.
Yep.
And I hated that shoe, and I still hate the 574. I do not like that shoe.
Me either.
But so you kind of grow to like a brand for different reasons.
I wanna talk about MB Rewards, and I know like the last episode we talked about Ronnie and his like loyalty program, but I wanted to talk about like NB Rewards and their program, because I like it. Like I really like the fact that they will give you like, you spend $100, they'll give you $5 off your next purchase if you want. You spend $1,000 or whatever, you get access to all this stuff. And I've gotten like free 990s, free MB1, things like that. But it seems like it's kind of fallen off with the rewards. And then also like, I feel like there's a missed opportunity to sort of keep the like hardcore New Balance people happy by like giving them special access through MB Rewards. And rumor has it that they might shift that, but I'm curious, like, how do you guys use it? Are you guys like into it? For me, it's a big deal. Like I got to keep my gold status every year. So like every year I'm like, all right, where am I at? Okay, I'm still gold, like whatever. Or like I'm trying to get $20 off this next release or this next GR or whatever. But it does suck that like you can't get collaborations off of it, like really. I think the only thing that I got off of there was the Stray Rats 990. They did like a shock drop one morning, and I got on and they had a 12, and I like bought it. It didn't fit me, and I ended up like just selling it to somebody else for a retail. But that's been the only collaboration I've been able to hit on, and I'm just curious how you guys feel about it.
I use it. Luckily, my plug works for New Balance. And so when I get rung up through New Balance, and he uses my account, and he's got my credit card, and he sends it to me, And so, to me, and I think Paolo hit the nail on the head with, coming over from, if you will, from Nike. Like I didn't expect anything. And so me getting an additional bonus, $10 off here, I just picked up some 990s for my 4-year-old, and I got a $20 off. That's cool to me. Like, I think that I respect that. I do believe exactly what you're saying. I think some of us that buy so much stuff, we should be getting a little bit of an extra, availability, like these Levi 992s that are coming out. I like it. I would love to be somebody from New Balance to ask me, do you want these shoes before they release? That would be cool. That to me, that's respect. But at the same time, the same guy that's hooking me up works for New Balance.
Haven't yet bought anything on New Balance website, I don't think. All the pairs I have, I bought secondhand. This last year, I picked up all 3 Concepts 997. Those are like, the 997 is probably my favorite model from New Balance. So I think those are my 3 favorite New Balance pairs. Other than that, I bought like some 327s. I got a pair gifted to me. I won like an Instagram contest, which is apparently possible. They always seem impossible, but I got a 996 that way. Not one I would have bought anyway, in all honesty, but I won it, and they're crazy comfy. They're like a gray. It's a no native collab. They're just like light gray. They look kind of vintage. It's kind of a neat collab. The story behind it's cool. I do kind of on that NB Rewards thing. I do think that that's a great program. That's like a punch card for buying sneakers, and people like us who buy more than the average person. I do feel like there is benefit to that reward. That's great. There should be more of that, really, in all honesty, those regular customers.
Yeah, I mean, I use it as much as I can. I tend to, before looking at like websites, for regular boutiques, I go to New Balance first to see what they have, just because of the points factor. And then the other interesting part about it is that, what's that new model that came out recently? I really like it. It's kind of a hybrid. The 5740.
Oh, yeah.
So I kind of like that. I haven't bought it yet, but here's an interesting fact for you. Is like, so I was going to get it from Concepts, then I didn't buy it. Then I went to the New Balance site. So on the New Balance site, it's about $20 cheaper. So Concepts is getting $120 for that shoe, and New Balance is charging $100. Haven't bought it yet, but obviously I would go there first with the rewards. And I agree. I think if you think about some of the shoes this year, that the people that are actually using the loyalty rewards, if I had gotten access to the Joe Fresh goods, I would have bought those in a heartbeat. Or even the sleeve, what's his name?
The Leahy.
Yes, I would have bought those too. I love that shoe.
Yeah.
And I think resale's creeping up on those again too. So it's like, well, I'm probably out on that. Even though I think that model shoe, I think the best one that came out was that cream colorway. You have them, I know, but they didn't have them in my size. I looked on that site when they came out, and I was so upset about it. It's a really great color, really great color. So if they started doing that, that'd be awesome. The Ronnie loyalty program, I've gotten emails with New Balance stuff before from him, which is nice. Hooked up Vin the Chin with the United Arrows pair. Retail, I didn't gouge friends, so maybe he'll return the favor someday. But because that shoe is awesome. But I was like, he wants it more than I do, and it's a 9.5. But although a 9.5 probably would have fit me now with my fat feet. So, but I think that'd be really cool if they did that. I'm not sure if they will. That'd be awesome if they gave us if they emailed us a special link for the people that are actually buying through their site, the loyalty aspect of it. Garet, like you, I have somebody at New Balance. I have a few people at New Balance, and I don't usually ask for the discount, the employee discount. I do it once a year, maybe, for a shoe. That's it. I don't do it every time.
You're saying you can do it? I haven't done it.
I can do it. I've done it. Where I think they get 30 or 40% off employees. I bought those the Hieros last year. They're that hiking kind of shoe that with the Vibram soles on them and stuff, Dave. I don't think you've seen me wear those.
Is it the one that has the 805 colorway? That came in the 805 colorway with the blue and the white? No,
it's the yellow pair. It's got the yellow upper.
Yeah.
Awesome shoe. It's great for it's a trail running shoe, but it's a great shoe to if you're going out for a hike and stuff like that. But that's the other thing is how many people are actually buying the other stuff that New Balance has to offer. You know what I mean? How many people are diving in and buying a shoe like that, or a regular running shoe or a workout shoe? You know what I mean? There aren't many people, I don't think. But again, we're New Balance purists, so it's different.
I actually picked up a pair of what are those called? They're trail Fresh Foam Hero 5s or something.
That's what I got.
I went to the Grand Canyon, and I'm not getting my suede wet. So my wife was like, why don't you just wear a pair of, you got 10 pairs of 990s. Why don't you wear those? I was like, no, I'll go buy these shoes that are designed for this. And then I won't care. It'll be great.
Yeah.
And it was.
Yeah. So looking back historically, Concepts or Ronnie? And Paolo, I already know what your answer is.
That shit's easy, man. That's so easy. That's not even. I don't think it's close. People like to think it's closer than it is, but if you think about, so I think Ronnie's done more shoes, right?
Yeah, because he's released more shoes at once than Concepts does one at a time.
So more quantities. Ronnie's got more quantity.
Yeah.
But quantity doesn't always be quality. So, if you look at Concept stuff, I don't know if you guys ever seen the first Concepts New Balance collab. Yeah. Wacky colors, pretty cool shoe.
Is it the yellow and the blue?
Yep. Kind of an interesting shoe. Even the Freedom Trail shoes, I think that shoe is an awesome shoe. Yeah. The 1500, I think it's the 1500.
Is that the brown one?
Yep.
Yeah.
They also have a hiking boot for it.
Yeah.
So then you have the C Notes, the Tannery. I think the Tannery is the best shoe ever from them, but that's my personal opinion. Another shoe that I think gets no credit is the Seals. I think the Seals are a phenomenal shoe. If you don't have a pair, buy a pair. Those things are like, you can beat the hell out of them, and they just keep ticking. Rosés speak for themselves. What's the other one there?
Lux Goods.
Yeah, luxury goods. I actually like the luxury goods better than the Rosés.
Yeah.
And people want to kill me for that, but I actually think it's a better pair. Those are cool too, Josh, but the Boston pair is still better.
Just because it's Boston?
Just because it's Boston, just because they did the colors hit right. That rust color in the back is the warning track at Fenway.
Yeah, it is.
But then there's other shoes that people don't give enough love to. I mean, there's,
the Mallards.
The Trails Busters, the Mallard Ducks, which that Mallards weren't actually a collab either. They were an exclusive to Concepts. Yep.
Thank you,
Boston, you got it. The Boston Marathons 998s as well, which I couldn't get those either, and they only made 96 pairs. I was on vacation, but I did an MB1 of that same shoe.
Yeah.
Besides the back, it's not black. I think I did a blue instead. But yeah, I mean, they don't have as many as Ronnie, but I think Concept is better than Ronnie. No questions about New Balance. That they're the kings of New Balance. There's nobody better.
I think I think about the two Ronnie and Concept New Balance collabs, I more immediately remember the Concepts one.
Yep.
I don't know why that is. They just like C-Note, the 998s they've done and the 997s just really stand out strong to me.
I mean, if we were talking about ASICs, we would say Ronnie. You know what I mean? I would say that too, because that resonates more with me too. The Ronnie ASIC. Yeah.
Speaking specifically to New Balance, I agree. I think ASICs is a different story. Probably other brands is a different story too, but Concepts has kind of dominated New Balance collabs.
There was a shoe today that I saw. I think Obscure put it up on his Instagram, and it was the 580. The 580 is an underappreciated shoe. I love that shoe, the New Balance 580. I don't know if you guys own any. I think it's a great shoe. It was Shoe Gallery did a collab years ago. This really bright blue Shoe Gallery, I think it's in Miami. Really bright blue shoe. I never got those.
Ronnie has two of those as well. I think he has a red and a blue one, and they're both really cool. It's a neat silhouette.
Yeah, and I really wanted, and I didn't get that shoe, but that shoe, like I saw it today, I'm like, that 580 model is such a good model. They did a pack. It was like the barbershop pack. I have the red pair.
The materials were kind of weak on it. I had the 580 and I sold it. The one from the Miami one you're talking about.
Yeah.
To me, it felt more like it was designed for like somebody that was like a bike messenger, like that kind of. It was designed to tear up. Like it was designed to get it scraped up, and there wasn't a lot of suede on it.
Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, are we really wearing the shoes because of the materials? I don't think so. I've had this argument before, and I will continue to have it. The materials, yes, they're important, but they're not the most important. It's a silhouette.
I would say depending on the price point. Depending on the price point, that really makes a big difference to me. Like if, I think people complained about the Todd Snyder and said that it was, it's $220 or, it's so much money. And I'm like, that's what they all 997s.
They always are.
Cost. They all cost that. Like, so for me, I think it's about materials, right? So like if you give me a 997 and it's $160, okay, like you could put whatever you want on it, or I think that's what they tried to do when they did the 997H, right? So like the materials aren't great on that shoe. I have a gray pair. I just beat them. I just wear them, whenever there's snow or stuff. But like for me, I think materials is a big deal if the price point is above like $160, $180. Like, like that's one of the reasons why I think I'm not really big on the Jordans or big on Nikes, because who's going to pay $180 for a shoe that's not going to give me premium materials when I can get one for that price?
People do it.
I mean, I know they do.
We've had this argument before in the group chat, where somebody complained about the 220 price tag, and I'm like, it's been that price for a while. Yeah. The luxury goods, the rosés, were all 220, 230, 240, whatever. It's nothing new.
Yeah,
we're used to that. So they haven't done what Nike's done. They haven't bumped up the prices. I mean, in some cases they do, but like an example I give you, and I would love to go get them right now. The Horween 997s I have, the blue ones that were $395 when they came out, but I got them for free through the New Balance thing I had to do with them. I can't find shoelaces. Somebody's got to find me shoelaces for these things. I need new shoelaces, but that shoe's holding up strong and it's aging really well. I put some polish on those. They're great. Would I have paid almost $400 for that shoe? Probably not. But the materials are worth it. They are. It's like that shoe's just aging. I wore that shoe through winters for like 5 years now, and it still looks beautiful. I just polish it. Looks great. So yeah, materials are important, but end of the day, we could have a shoe that's full of awesome materials, but we don't like the silhouette. So then what do? You don't wear it.
Yeah.
So
I would add, going back to your original question, David, the whole concept about what's better, concepts or running bike. To me, not only you're talking about materials, the story. I think concepts are better storytellers. And honestly, what got me, probably back into really running runners hardcore was when like Saucony did the hamburgers, right? Like that's probably, don't tell all the New Balance people, that's probably my favorite shoe. Like it's like, cause it is what it is. You when you look at that shoe, you're like, man, that's a hamburger, but done in an amazing way when the laces are like the color of the onions, like I think that shoe is great. But I think what drew me back, on the other side, as far as New Balance and concepts, not just because we're with the concepts homer here, is that their storytelling is amazing. Like, Frank the Butcher with Kennedy and, Dion and what they have done with, shoe after shoe after shoe, you can see it. Like, he's talking about Fenway and the color of the dirt. And like, you can see it when you start looking at it and you're like, wow, even, when you get into some shoes that I had the seal, I understand, but I sold it. I'm not going to lie. I didn't like it as much as I like a few other of their shoes. But again, that story that they tell, like, I think Ronnie feels like he's just selling something. And yeah, I think early Ronnie, like when you get like the 850 Brooklyn Bridges, like that's an amazing shoe. Like I've walked across the Brooklyn Bridge and I understand like where he got some of the color concepts and things like that from. But I think most of the stuff, like what's the story behind the Kithmas that you wanted to get paid?
So, like, all right. So that's funny you brought up that shoe, the 850. I absolutely hate that shoe. I don't understand why it's a big deal. That shoe is trash to me.
You don't like the pillow? The pillow.
Man, I don't like that shoe at all. I think that shoe looks so bad on feet. It's such a bad shoe, I think. But again, to each their own. I prefer the other one that he did. Was that the same time?
Was that the Central Park?
Yeah, did that come out at the same time? I think it did.
Because he did like the 5. Yeah, like 5 boroughs or something.
The Central Park to me is an amazing shoe.
Not comfortable, but it's a great shoe.
Is that the maroon one?
Yeah.
It has like a tree on it or something.
It's got like a leaf or something.
Leaf on the tongue.
530. Was it on the 530?
I think it was a 530.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against that concept, but I think that's when he was coming up, and I think maybe that's the difference in the trajectory of, say, concepts. Concepts is still putting out the story. Even when you were talking about the 327 earlier, the only one that I thought about buying was that concepts, because I could see the cranberries, right? I could see the water, like I could, I've seen the Ocean Spray commercial, I understood, and I thought that was really cool. They're still trying. Ronnie's not trying. He's got too much going on, and I don't know how many other different things y'all listen to, but I was listening to him on Complex. I think it's just changed its course. Like, he's in a different part of his life than other people are.
I think they're both just different brands, really, if you think about it. You know what I mean? Concepts is we want to do shit the way we want to do it. And we're going to do it that way. Where Ronnie is kind of like, hate to say it, but I think at this point it's kind of push product out. And I think he's kind of, like I said on the podcast that we talked about Ronnie Dave, he's kind of pushed away from the collaboration aspect of it and trying just to build his own brand, rather than depending on the different manufacturers, different producers of the shoes, which is fine. Where you have an ALD that's kind of going, they're not going reverse, they're sticking to their brand, but they do collabs here and there. So
comparatively, Concepts is talking about some of their collabs on a video, and they lose money sometimes. Like, they put so much effort into the boxes, the packaging for people who come in store. I don't know if you guys saw that video, them talking about the lobsters and the crazy boxes they have. It's like
the dunks and stuff.
Yeah, it's wild. And it's like that effort, that level of effort, the shoe would sell regardless, but going that extra mile, like that's true storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, Dion and Tarek have told me before years ago that the cost on those boxes is ridiculous on some of those boxes to make, and it costs quite a bit of money, and the margins aren't there, but they understand business, and that's part of cost of doing business. Presentation, right? I mean, we all look at things in that fashion. If you see something, more so now, even with the different products that are offered, beer, for example, like, this isn't a good example of one, but like there are certain beers, I see the packaging, I'm like, wow, I might buy that because it looks good, but.
Is that a difference in, isn't Dion, isn't that his deal? Like, is that his shtick, that he's a marketing guy? Like, I've heard him speak about those boxes in the sense that, like, he wants to build that story, and he wants you to know that that's who they are.
I think his title is creative director. So it's kind of like, when you think about that title, are you a marketing guy? I think you are in some cases, but you're also a creator, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm a marketing person too, but I think all good marketing people come from sales backgrounds to begin with.
Yeah, but like I think from the standpoint of, like, Ronnie being a product guy and then Dion being a product guy, I think Dion is, Ronnie's like, I'm gonna try to create this product that feels special. But I think Dion is like, I want you to feel X way. And this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it with this. I'm looking at this thing that really moves me. And here's how I'm going to impress that upon you with this shoe, right? Like, Ronnie is like, I'm just going to create this really cool, clean, crisp thing that I'm going to deliver to you. And you're going to go, wow, when you open it. But it's not going to, that feeling is great for that moment. But I think, every time I look at the S-Ruck, I have like there's like, 10 different things floating through my mind. I'm thinking about No Nanette. I'm thinking about Babe Ruth.
That shoe is so good. That shoe is so good.
So I think they're both trying to say something. I think Ronnie, like you said, he's thinking about 10 different things, whereas like Dion is just like, okay, like, I have to make, I like this thing inspired me. I want to put that on a shoe. I want to make a shoe about that. How do I do that? Like, what do we do to get that done? And he's not thinking about, like, how do I string this together so I can sell this collection? Or how do I, like, create the perfect color palette so that, like, I can put 4 tees together and 3 other shoes together. He's just thinking about that one thing, which I think is a lot easier and a lot, it's a lot better to have that focus on that singular item and put like all into that rather than, hey, I'm going to put out three shoes or 30 shoes that are all like, very simplistic.
I do think Ronnie has a history of great storytelling though. Like there are certain pairs that I've been drawn to more because of the story behind it when reading his own write-ups on the Mint Leaf. I think that's a great looking shoe, but it's almost too simple for something I would normally go for. But hearing kind of the story behind it and his own nostalgia and experience was pretty powerful. I think a good story, we said this before, can take a good collab kind of to the next level, but I'm more familiar with Ronnie's basic stuff, of course. I think like maybe if we're talking 5 years ago or more, there was more story, there was more of that. Now it seems like it is just more quantity. And maybe it is like, making something look good, which isn't always bad, but where's that extra layer to it, that we almost expect from a collab nowadays, or we just want it maybe, or,
Did you talk about the whole New Balance like movement thus far? Like, I think that was one of the discussion points. You're supposed to talk about the why they're doing well, or why do you think they're doing well?
Yeah, I mean, one of the questions that I had written, just for us to sort of like chew on real quick, was obviously they're on the upswing, right? So like, all these, I think all the articles that I sent you guys were, talking about how they were brand of the year, or how their collabs were like, top 5, or, whatever it is. And so like, I know we talked about Joe Fresh Goods and how he just sort of came out of the gate and just like sparked this whole like wave of 992s. We talked about ALD sort of with their 997 and then the 990 and then the 990 V2. Do those two collaborations, those two brands sort of like, are they why New Balance is on the upswing, or is it just them doing like great things? Or is there something else? I don't know.
I think that stuff was going on before that happened. I kind of want to go back and look at the year of the X90 again, because I think it kind of started there. I really do think it started kind of at that point. That was probably 2 years ago, maybe.
Was that 18? Yeah.
Probably 2 years ago, 2018, maybe 2019.
Yeah.
I really think it started there. And again, we're not privy to know like who they hired or whatever, but I think, I think they looked at their, is Kawhi responsible? He might be. Is Kawhi Leonard responsible? He might be. I don't know. Hard to say. I think he helped.
Is Justin Bieber responsible?
Could be. But another guy that wears a lot of New Balance? John Mayer. I don't know if you guys do that. John Mayer wears a lot, buys a lot of concept stuff. He always buys stuff from there.
New England guy. That's why.
I would add,
I didn't know that.
Little Yachty, not that I think he's, whatever, but I've seen Little Yachty on a lot of things, and he continuously stresses that, his first pair of shoes were 5.74s for the reason that it was many people's 5.74s.
Yep.
And he in part anytime he's given an opportunity, he speaks to New Balance like every time. And, a lot of these kids, whether it's Justin Bieber or whoever, they're listening and they're getting their style from that. And if they can, wear something that, maybe sets themselves apart, because we do live in a society now of, especially with Twitter and Instagram and all that is look at me, look at me. So, these people that they're trying to emulate are now saying that New Balance is cool. And maybe at one point it was more affordable. I'm sure all of us have been on those different websites. I bought a lot of my stuff from eBay, and people are blown away when I pull out the 999, the camos, and I'm like, man, I bought those for like $50 on eBay.
You have the duck camos?
Yeah.
Yo, that shoe is fire. It's bonkers.
But how many people? how many people like hit me up in my DMs for my camos, and I'm like, I'm sorry that you joined it this whole wave late, but
and
now
those, and those went on sale too when they came out like a month
that's what I'm saying. I copped them for like $50, and then I got like the 997 camos. People talk about those every time that I post them or whatever. Man, when are you gonna let me have those 997 camos, man? Never, but I bought them for like nothing. And my point being is that, you know, like we know, supply and demand, and part of the supply and the demand is this hype. There's a hype, and there's a group of people, these influencers that think it's cool. And, you know, you can say whatever you want to say about a Jaden Smith, but how many followers does he have on Instagram? Like, that's what's selling now. Part of this community, part of how I'm sitting before you is I check out all of y'all stuff, right? And I see it if I like it, you know. And like I said earlier, with the Todd Snyder 997, completely bought it because Dave posted it on his Instagram. 1,000,000%. Like, I was just like, wow, because he got real close and I could see the materials, because like him, I'm a material guy. But I think all these hype beasts are driving up the cost, and it's pushing. I mean, I'm kind of losing steam, to be honest. I've been a sneakerhead since 1988, and I'm losing steam because, again, there's too much product, and the stuff that I want is getting priced out because, you know, people can't buy the 992 Joe Fresh goods, so they're going to start looking maybe at the 997s. Maybe they're going to start looking at the 998s, and that's my wheelhouse. 998 is my favorite silhouette, and so now I'm getting priced out. And even like that, I got a good price on the Kith 998, which I think is a great shoe. Unfortunately, inconsistency with sizing, it was about a half size too big, you know, and I had to get rid of that. But my point being is, all these people that are saying that it's cool, like, people are listening. And when you're being priced out of, earlier we were talking about the SB market, for example.
Yeah.
How many people are getting priced out of the SB market? Jordans are expensive to begin with. You know, I remember my mom buying me a pair of Jordans in 88, the Fire Reds. And she was like, $100? And I was like, I guess, like, you know, but
that's a very similar story to my Jordan story too. I mean, very similar.
Yeah, and I think, and you know, one of Dave, your questions was talking about what drew you to New Balance. Well, one thing, I'm old, right? Like, being 41, like, I care about comfort. And I think when we all started, you know, I come from I've heard this story told a million times. Your mom, your dad, whoever would buy you one pair of shoes, right? And they're to last all year long. Well, if you ran those into the ground, can you tell me how they felt? Can you tell me, like, were they comfortable? Well, I can tell you Jordans weren't, because they were built for basketball. They weren't built for me walking around all day. But I wasn't going to complain to my mom, because she was like, there's your one pair. And maybe you could talk her into something at Christmas, maybe for your birthday, you know, whatever it was. But then, you know, I would get a pair of Bo Jacksons, a pair of Andre Agassi's, you know, and that was in my wheelhouse. And now that I went away for a while because I was in college, and y'all know how it is to be broke in college. Mm-hmm. And so my wife can tell you about my incredible low Chucks, you know, the low top Chuck Taylors, because I had 100 of them, because you could rock them with any color, right? I had any color you could imagine, because I was a poor college student. And then when I finally started getting a little bit of money, I was like, oh yeah, let me go buy that stuff that I wanted. My mom was like, man, you get one pair of shoes, boy, and that's what you're going to get. And so I started going back and all these retros and all that. And then I started noticing they don't feel good. You know, the quality is bad. You know, all the stuff that we know why I do care about the materials is just that. Look at a Jordan 1 and people are like, oh, it's so buttery. Have you seen the suede on that pair of Todd Snyder 997s? Like, it doesn't even compare to, like, we're talking about a different sport, you know, it's not even the same. And so, well, I think
that's the thing is, again, you know, Nike is a marketing machine, because, you know, I hear it all the time. Oh, these Nikes, the leather on this Nike it's so good. I'm pretty sure that their leather, is 60 or 70% synthetic. Come on, guys, like, enough with your horseshit that your Jordan 1s are leather. They're not. Like, stop.
So is New Balance like transitioning out of being the old man shoe? And if it is, are we okay with that? Because I feel like as a relatively old man, I think we're all the same age. Like Paolo, Paolo and Garet, you guys are pretty much the same age. Josh and I are the same age. Like, yeah, comfort materials, those are the things. Like, if New Balance goes away from that, because, one could argue with all of their made in Asia stuff, some of that comfort is going away. Is that okay? Like, is that cool? Because, they're growing up.
I don't think it will. I feel a bit like they're kind of capitalizing on being the dad shoe, the grandpa shoe. That was almost like part of the marketing campaign. It's the intelligent choice that, they show old people wearing them. And around here, that's like what old people wear. It's hard for me to get on with certain New Balance models because I only see old people wearing them. But I feel like they're just taking advantage of it. They're kind of being self-aware. Steve Jobs, he was kind of a dorky guy, but something about that is cool now and kind of come full circle. The dad shoe trend is a thing, and New Balance knows it. They know comfort is what they're great at.
I think there's something to say about the products that are made in the USA, though. And I think people like me, I'm very like pro made in the USA stuff. I really want to try to avoid buying stuff that's not made here. Obviously, you can't always, but I think that's a big part of them. That's a big part of their brand. But I think it's also a mistake as well. So I think a lot of people think all New Balance is made in the USA, and that's just not true. You know what I mean? A lot of people think all the shoes are made in the USA, and they're not. It's only a few models. If you think about it, it's not that much. But New Balance knows how to market that idea and get into people's heads that all their shoes are made in the USA. They're not. But again, I think the stuff they're doing in Asia right now is really good. I think it's better than like a lot of the other brands. I mean, do you have Diadoras coming from Italy that are horrible quality right now? New Balance stuff from Asia, I've never had a problem with it. But I don't know. I haven't bought a recent one. Well, the 327s, I guess, is the most recent one I have. I do want to get one of those 2002s though to try that. But I haven't really seen anything crazy in terms of the Asian made stuff. But it's obviously out there. Everyone's got problems with the manufacturing.
I think if you come from like many of us with that, I guess for lack of better terms, purist ideas, hey, I'm not gonna lie. Not only have I sent back a pair of 2002s, I've sent back a pair of the 5740s. They're not what I want. And I can see where they're trying to bridge the gap. I can see that. They're trying to show you that, maybe these non-US, non-UK shoes can be quality. And I think maybe those two particular models are trying to show you that it's possible. And I know they're doing collabs on them and things of that nature. But I got them in hand and I was just like, no, like this is not what I want. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I sent them back to New Balance, which was weird because I don't usually do that, but I don't want it to just sit on my shelf and me not wear it. And so, I think a lot of the New Balance problem right now, if there is a problem, is that there are older New Balance fans and it's kind of get off my lawn, that vibe with some of the people that I talk to. And I think I don't have a problem with Jaden Smith wearing whatever that thing is and whatever. That's fine. That's cool.
The Vision Racer.
Whatever. I think where people get offended to a certain degree, especially about the purist and the older sneakerheads, is that some of the models that they like, they can't buy and they're getting pushed off of. And, I talk to a lot of, I talk to these purists all the time and I appreciate their insight. And usually it's that they've been priced out of a shoe that they could have got, for $100. When you talk about, say, a 992 or a 993, like the outlet type shoes, like you could have got that somewhere at some point. And being someone that I can see the difference because I've copped, I bought the luxury goods for $100. Like I was fortunate that I bought like at the time when the market was down, and I'll wait on it. And I'm not going to chase the hype. And I've had to talk myself out of buying some of these things. I've never spent more than $300 for any pair of shoes. And I have some bangers. And like I can't do it. Like, and I want to, like right now, I want one of those pairs. I'll take either one of the ALD 997s. I just can't do it. Like, I can't pay it. Like, I'm just like, and I work the guy down to like, like in the threes on a pair. And I'm like, I just can't.
So, I mean, I think one of the issues I have, and I don't want to call myself like a purist, but I love New Balance. I've been with New Balance for a while. There are certain purists that want to push people out. So when a young kid that I meet at a sneaker shop is looking at New Balance and he's wondering about it, I don't mind educating him on it or letting him know. I think it's cool. I think it's cool to welcome new people in because, they're kind of the next wave. Let's face it. Like, it is what it is. Like, we didn't just like New Balance automatically when we grew up. We liked it for different reasons. Garet, you said it. You started with Jordans, like me. I think we all probably started there, and you move. You know what I mean? They're doing the same thing. So sometimes people have the notion of like trashing people on social media. Oh, you were never a New Balance fan. You never wore them. Now all of a sudden you're wearing them. Who the hell cares? Why waste your energy? It's okay. Especially like I think a lot of these kids that are getting into it, and I'm not like talking about the flippers, but I'm talking about the kids that generally want to wear them. I think it's really cool, and they generally ask questions and they want to know stuff. And I think it's good to embrace those people.
I think it's because, to add to you, Paolo, I think it's again that you're getting pushed out. Like the same people that are pushing out are feel like they're getting pushed out, and they're not getting the products that they got for a crazy discounted rate. And I'm with you. I like, I think it's cool. I work in education, so when I see kids wearing, New Balance, I'll talk about it. And, I'll try to give them a little bit of an education, like many of the cool cats that are, I was embraced. And I think in part I'm embraced because, and I've only been me, I've been in it for about 40 years on the New Balance side. I got embraced by people that I respect in part because I do collect things that they also collect, but I'm not necessarily their rivals in it. And I'm not pushing them off of things. And so when I ask questions, and I felt kind of weird asking questions at times, and I felt that, that Heisman, I felt that at times because they were guarding, their little treasures, which is cool, and I understand. But I think as time goes by, and maybe some of these, most of the purists don't care about the 327s. They don't care about the 827s. And so I think if you start developing products that maybe the younger kids gravitate towards, then some of that hostility might go away, and for us, we're sitting here waiting for 997s and 998s, right? We're just like, come on, when's this going to happen again? But the kids don't know that.
So going to, you brought up a really good point now though. That's what New Balance is doing by introducing different models like that to really segment the market. And so they can identify their customer base in different areas. I think it's really smart. That's a good point you brought up. I just thought of that off my head now because 327s, I have 2 pairs. Do I wear them? No, I don't wear them all the time. Do I wear 998 or 997 more so? Yes, I do. So maybe that's their move. New Balance would have to confirm that and say, yep, we've developed these specific models to cater to this group, to that group, to this group, and then keep us happy too. So you're probably right.
It's those ones that cross over that causes the hysteria. It's those ones like we're talking about, the JJJs. Those are the ones that people are getting offended by, right? Because you can't get them. Like, so even like Dave saying that he liked a green pair, so do I. I like that color, but I'm not buying them. And you just pushed me off of it because of the price of it, because there's a couple of 18-year-olds walking around with them, and probably Soho or wherever in New York, and whatever. And that's fine. But I think that's when they feel like their territory is being taken over. And I think we all can relate to that because you're like, oh, this is my thing. I felt like that with Jordans. Like being in education, how many kids have I asked, did you ever see Michael Jordan play? Oh, you haven't? Then why are you wearing
No, exactly.
What are you doing? I play a whole reunion in Dallas, baby. Like you can't speak to that. Or these, and I am going to say this. I don't know about y'all's concert t-shirts or how y'all like that. I'm big into music. it annoys me to no end when I see like a 14-year-old wearing, I don't know, like a Grateful Dead shirt. And I'm like, name a song, just name one song.
If I see a 14-year-old kid wearing a Grateful Dead shirt, I'm telling him, throw that shit in the trash. That band's trash. It's funny when you see them wearing Megadeth and Metallica t-shirts, though.
Oh, yeah.
And I like that music, too. I like all music, except for country. I don't do country. But
now you can't buy that t-shirt because it's $150 for a 1998 tour shirt. And you're like, I kind of want that.
I'll just go to a flea market and get not an original one and wear that. It's fine.
But I think that's the thing. People are going after, people's territories. And like I guess we solved the puzzle there. Once these new models start taking people away from it, then maybe you'll get to keep your 998,
But do you guys think that's, so is that a society kind of derived from society, or is that, who did that? Like the JJs and even the Joe Fresh Goods, who did that? Or was it a StockX that did that?
Like brought back the model or made the model more of what it is?
Like these prices that are getting set, who is setting those prices? It's supply and demand. I understand that. But there's a lot of other collaborations. There's a lot of other collaborations that come out that.
That's a StockX thing. Because like Josh said, 2015, I remember looking at, or 2016, I remember all the ASICs, the 30th anniversary pairs dropped, or the 25th anniversary pairs dropped. And I remember going on Flight Club at the time, and I remember looking at pairs and going, I'm not paying $250 for a pair of gel light 3s. And now I'm like $250. That's like for resale, that's reasonable. You know what I mean? So I feel like with the Jounds 992s, a shoe like that, it's part consumer driven because there's these people that are willing to pay $1,000 for it or $800 for it. And so the New Balance market, the old heads or the people that, have been in New Balance for a while are like, I'm not paying that. I'm not paying resell. I'm one of those people where I'm not paying resell, let alone $1,000, $750 for a pair of shoes. That's not happening. So of course I'm going to feel a certain way about it, but it's also the accessibility, right? So now if I'm a kid and I have time, I can get a shoe for, every collaboration that's coming out. And I had this conversation at a panel before about how, 5 or 6 years ago, if you were a reseller, you had to make your choices, 5 shoes were releasing on a Saturday. You couldn't get all 5. You would have to pick and choose because they were doing an in-store raffle. There wasn't an online release for everything. So you had to be in store to get one pair, and then there was no StockX. So you really had to grind to sell that shoe. You know what I mean? And now it's well, I can be a reseller because I can sit at home. I can go for everything. Whatever I get, I can just put on StockX and I don't have to grind to sell it. So it doesn't matter. I'll let it sit there for a few weeks at $500 or $600. Whereas, it used to be a grind. It used to be, I'm only going to get this one shoe. I have to make sure I make the right choice. And I also have to make sure that, I'm able to flip it.
But you also got to remember the brands want the secondary market.
Oh yeah.
They want that. And I'll give you a prime example. A few weeks ago, and this has nothing to do with sneakers, but the sports card market's turned up again. I have a bunch of stuff that I had kind of stored away, open stuff up again the last year or so. And I went on StockX and I found the Tatis Chrome Rookie. That was about $60 under market. And I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna buy this thing because I'm gonna hold it. What wouldn't let me buy it? It gave me the error code 400, which I saw a YouTube video about it, and a sneaker guy who I'll have to send you guys a link at some point, but he was talking about the error code 400 where it says oh, your payment's not going through, but it is. My cards all work. The problem is it's an error that StockX gives when they claim they think you're a speculator. So you're trying to buy something under market, so you're taken out of their market, so they can't sell that at that upper price. So now going back to sneakers, same thing happens there though, because that guy was going through the same thing. What he was doing, he was buying shoes off StockX at those low prices when he could find them, and then they started cutting them off, and he was sending them to Goat to storage, where he could just drop ship from Goat to people's houses. So smart,
Mm-hmm.
But StockX they're setting the prices. They're not, it's not. So I go on there, I didn't go on there yet, but and you look at the Joe Fresh Goods, right? And you say, okay, well, is that really the price, or is that StockX setting the price? I don't know. But the brands want that secondary market to balloon, because it helps those models that they sell. I don't care what anybody says. Those 2002s that came out the collab, those directly help the other ones sell.
Yeah, I think the resale market is like a whole different. It's a whole can of worms. I really think
that'll be a topic we should touch on another day.
Look at this. Size 9 Joe Fresh Goods. You want to buy them? $3,500. Size 9.5, $1,900.
Buy it now, Paolo.
No, thank you.
Clickbait.
Sell your whole collection and buy that one pair.
No, thank you.
We'll have some good clickbait. Watch Paolo drop $3,500 on the Joe Fresh Goods.
Never.
No, but I think you guys brought up some really good points. I think Garet, you're kind of spot on when you're talking about being priced out, and that really influencing a lot of the older people, or a lot of the people that have been collecting New Balance for a while. I certainly feel that way, and I think it definitely builds some resentment too when you feel not only that you're being priced out, but that people are consistently going, okay, yeah, I'll pay $500 for a shoe, because that constantly makes it okay. It's, I think you and I are old enough. I think we're all old enough to understand that when someone buys something at an astronomical price, it okays the next person to do it or sell it at that price. And so it's just like a endless stream. And for us New Balance guys, I think for us, for so long, we've been used to paying what we were going to pay. And now it's kind of all right, you're coming in and you're telling us that this price isn't good enough, or that price is, you're going to set the price higher. And so you're changing the whole market, right? And so that's one of those things that is really, it's really disheartening. And I think, like Paolo said, I hope that New Balance's approach of bringing in these newer models can help sort of diversify the market and give us all something that we want. But also, I think, that they've been hit by the pandemic this year. So that's ended a lot of their stuff, a lot of their plans. And so I think, for this year, the hope is that they're going to have enough product for everyone, enough new stuff, give us some old stuff, and then we can all sort of get a little bit of something that we want. And I kind of feel like I did. It sucked because I did want to have at least one 992 collaboration, and I didn't get one. So that kind of sucked. But I think for this year, hopefully Todd Snyder does some more stuff. And
I would add though one other thing.
Ezrock 3,000 and size 9. Are you kidding me?
One thing that I thought of as you were sitting here talking about it though too is I think it's calculated to a certain degree also with New Balance. On those Joe Fresh Goods, how many are there? And we're not getting into the 75. There's only 75, Clark Kents out there. That's a totally different story we're talking about. But even, that Pata 991, how many are really being released? And, I think they know that there's going to be certain shoes that are going to create this hysteria. And back to supply and demand, it might be more calculated than we think on the New Balance side. because the New Balance, they have the ability. I understand the COVID and the delays in shipping and all that, and we all get it. But I also think that they're smart enough to limit some of these drops when they could flood the market. Dave, you brought up, you've only seen how many of these collabs on the New Balance website. Well, I'm thinking they're only allowing these, boutiques to get X amount of shoes, and that creates that hysteria. If there's more of it, then it might not be as big of a problem. I would love to see the numbers. Show me the numbers on how many, Joe, he'll hit you back asking how many pairs there are. They did that on purpose. I bet they saw something that they knew would be hot. Those designs, it takes a while before it becomes reality. They saw
how many are there?
That's what I'm asking. Like, how
Do we
many?
know? I don't know either.
And I bet you if you look at, either the ALDs or the the stray rats, there's only so many of them. And big shout out to ALD, as much as people hate them. Like what they're doing with the New Balance 1300, I think that's amazing. Like you put out in advance and people are a little antsy because it's taken 6 months to get it. You put in order forms for it. And I got the pink pair. I can't speak to y'all, but I bought the pink pair because I like the pink pair and I'm just waiting,
I was out on that product totally. No, I don't do. I just didn't like the shoe that much, so it wasn't so much that they did a pre-order, but it was more just I just didn't like the shoe.
I got my green New Balance.
So you got the green 1300s?
Yeah.
See, but I think the people who want it could get it, and if New Balance could do that, but again, back to I think they're doing some things just like Nike and everyone else does. They're creating hype by not only creating so many, and then you create a hysteria behind it, and you pay. And Paolo's going to pay $3,500 for the Joe Fresh goods.
No, thank you.
Well,
I'll give you guys one shoe. I mean, I think we're probably signing off soon, anyways. I'll give you one shoe that you guys may not even be aware that's available or around. Actually, I don't know if it's available. So many years ago, Concepts did a collaboration, like the rivalry weekend, like the Boston, New York rivalry pair. But this one was a Yale Harvard.
Oh,
there's a 998 Harvard colorway and there's a 990 Yale colorway. Garet, I think there's an eBay out there. There's a 998 Harvard one. I think there's some on eBay and they're pretty low.
I've seen those. They're like that all maroon color.
Yep.
I asked about that, but even the scarcity doesn't cause it, because what is it? I used to have a pair of them. The Jersey Devils.
Yep.
There's only like 80 of those, and nobody wants them. Like in those, so to me, I understand maybe the rarity right now at the height of what's going on is causing some of the hysteria,
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
Is it the rarity? It doesn't seem so, because that's evidence right there that that's not the case. It's the hype, obviously. Now, if Kanye West threw those New Balances on tomorrow, you'd see people, running around to try to get those, those 998. You know what I mean?
The Pine Barrens. That's the ones. I knew there's like none of those. Packers. That'd be another good collab too. When's Mike Packer gonna create another good silhouette? He's a good storyteller.
He is. I don't know. I feel like he's kind of stepped away a little bit. If you heard the story about how that 992 came about, and I think a lot of the New Balance product is people just kind of throwing stuff together from the MB1 bin. That was what the Joe Fresh goods was. It was. They said it was their shortest concept to sneaker.
Yeah,
I think that they've ever done for a collaboration, which was like under 6 months. And so it was basically like them letting him look in their scrap bin of materials, and he put together the shoe out of that. So, like I think they ran out of the leather that's on the tongue. There were a few other panel pieces, like I think one of the pinks that they used, they didn't have a lot of that. So it ran out. And so like the shoe that was produced, they're not going to produce it again because they don't have the materials to produce it again. At least that was my understanding. And I think that's what he explained when he talked about it. And when Joe talked about it on the Complex podcast. So like for me that, like I think he actually put the work in to make the shoe, but it was pretty rare. It was a pretty rare shoe. Now something like the CLs that Ronnie did, you could do a ton of those. You know what I mean? Like why? Like I think maybe their production numbers are really low because they couldn't ramp up to meet demand. That's my personal feeling. I feel like they didn't know that the 992 was going to be as big a hit as it was. I know there were a lot of pairs of the Jounds. There were like a ton of those. The double taps, that was my personal favorite from last year. That shoe, I think they didn't make enough. They just didn't think that demand was going to be what it was. But I think Joe Fresh Goods really set it off. And then, they kind of got stuck behind the 8 ball with these low production numbers for their first rounds of like 992s. And so here we are. They're not enough. They didn't make enough 327s. They didn't make enough 827s. They didn't make enough, of the 202s and the gray. They had a lot of shoes that they were supposed to make that were supposed to come out this year, and they just got caught behind the 8 ball. And then the pandemic hit, and then they couldn't like re-up or reintroduce colorways soon enough. So I think they could now, but I don't know if they're going to go back and be like, hey, we got more materials, we're going to do it, some more double taps, we're going to do some more CLs. Like I just don't think it's going to happen. But that's my personal feeling from what I know about their production and how it got slowed down this year, that they produced to the number that they thought we're going to need. And then, Joe Grondin kind of talked about it when he talked about the Bodega pair, the 997S, the first one that they did. So he said, they made, I think, something like 3,000 pairs, and they got over 500,000 hits on the website trying to buy that pair. So yeah. He said the next time that they produced that shoe, they produced the next iteration, they did something like a third of what they had, in terms of hits. So, probably 100,000 pairs sold out again. So, they're not gonna, and the problem is they're not gonna produce exactly how many they need. They're always gonna produce less. And so that's always gonna mean that, we're gonna be stuck out in the market, and they don't want to be in the position of having stuff that sits on shelves, because then their brand image is tarnished, right? So like if people see stuff sitting or see that stuff isn't moving, they're not going to buy it, and they're going to be like, oh, well, New Balance, it's there, I can get it whenever I want, I'm not going to pay resale for it. And I mean, like Paolo, like you said, they want the resale market or the secondary market to be well.
I think they figured it out. I mean, how often do you see New Balance on sale if you walk into like a store? Very rarely.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't. I mean, unless you go in the outlet, and even at the outlet, a pair of 993s are what, $175. So it's not really, is that a sale? I don't know. Maybe it's $25, $20 off, maybe $10.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you guys are both aware of the New Balance, like Joe's New Balance outlet or whatever online.
Yep.
Beginning of the year, he had everything. He had 993s, like every color, every size. He had 990s. He had all kinds of stuff. By June, it was gone. There was nothing. It was absolutely barren there. There was nothing there that, that we would find remotely interesting. It was all, like,
New Balance owns that, right?
It makes sense. I didn't know that, but that makes sense.
Yep.
And how much of it, I mean, you hit something that I'm thinking about too. How much is it that people have a lot more time on their hands to research these things? And how many, I think about, especially people aren't able to go to the club or they're not going to their local bars as much as they once did. And they have a little bit more cash than they once did. And you also have a percentage of people that they're doing their jobs at home, and you're searching the internet for, all of these different things. And you have the ability to look at a shoe, whether it's on Instagram or eBay or whatever it is, that wherever you get, your ideas of what shoes look like, and then you're interested. And, then I'm going to find it, and I'm going to find it in this size. And then you talk about the market with StockX, and I think y'all hit the nail on the head. These are worth 1,000 because the guy under you, paid 900. And so then, okay, then it's 1,100, then 1,200. Then you got whatever Yahoo that's trying to sell that Joe Fresh goes for 3,500. If you look at those sales, Paolo, I think the next highest sell is like $1,600 or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
But somebody's like, why not? And I'll let it sit here and I'll hold on to it. And somebody's going to pay it. And, a friend of mine, he says that, it only takes one, right? It only takes one guy to hit accept. There's somebody that wants that shoe.
I'll give you a great example. Back in late November, I bought it wasn't graded. It was a Cristiano Ronaldo 2014 Prism soccer card, okay? I paid $32 for it. Do you know how much it sold for yesterday on eBay? $101. Why? Same thing. Somebody else paid $76 last week for the same card. So guess what? I'm gonna go up and try to buy it for, whatever I need it, whatever it is. You know what I mean? So same thing's going on in the shoes. It's the same exact thing. If you want something, you're gonna pay for it. It's the American way. That's how we are.
Well, I think you're seeing it in the stock market. You're seeing it in, like the whole thing.
Yeah, GameStop.
You're seeing people that have time on their hands and they have a little bit more money than they had before, and they're buying stuff. And, I got pushed out of the card market when they started grading, right? And so it's back to, what is this new shiny object? It's a piece of cardboard. It can't be worth that much. It's an autograph. It's a piece of a jersey, whatever it is. It can't be worth that much. But again, like the hype that gets involved in these things keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And I'm glad I haven't got back into the cards, because it would drive me insane. Like, somebody that I knew that was in the sneaker community got out to buy all these cards, and he was telling me about the grading, and that if it's not a 10, then you just crack it and you sell it raw, because people hope that 9 might be a 10. Like, that's crazy. It's
a little more complicated than that. I think nines are still very underpriced. So, or not like, you know what I mean? 9s are still really good.
Sure. But I'm just saying
but people, it's, it's like the sneakers, you know what I mean? You want the Joe Fresh goods, you got to pay $3,500 right now, I guess, on my phone, it says. But you can't, you can put an offer in for like 1,700, right? Will somebody buy it? Maybe, I don't know. Or will they take the bid? Who knows? So it's kind of like, at the end of the day, it's like, if you want it, somebody's going to pay. I bet you somebody pays that $3,500.
But I think
probably we should all start a little pool, throw $5 in it, and the winner who comes close to the date wins the money.
But that's the problem, right? Because sneakers have become such a status symbol that people will do that, right? Like 5 years ago, you couldn't get someone that was going to pay $3,500 for this shoe, right?
Nope.
And it was the market, and it was also like just the celebrity realm. They weren't gonna, they just weren't into it like that. It wasn't a status symbol like it is now. I think Russ Bingston tweeted today and talked about like, he's like, it boggles my mind how today it's almost automatic if you're an NBA player that you have to be in the shoes. He was like, it was a big deal for me back in the 90s when I saw, when I saw Penny Hardaway flip to the sneakers section of Slam magazine, because they weren't into sneakers. They were just into basketball. He was like, you know, this guy had a Nike deal. He was getting sent everything, and he still wanted to see what was coming out. That was like real sneaker, like a real sneaker fan. And there was no way to buy stuff. It was all like you really had to hunt. And now it's like, oh, it's a status symbol. So there's someone that's going to sell it to you. There's a marketplace for getting everything that you want. So like, of course everything is overpriced. You know, of course everything is $3,500. You know, like if that StockX didn't exist, I guarantee the Joe Fresh goods wouldn't be as high a price as it is, because one, you wouldn't be able to find anyone that could sell it to you because it'd be such a grind to sell. No one would want to have it, you know.
What's that? We forgot to talk about was the ALD. Was it a basketball model? The lows there.
550.
Yeah, those things are awful. Why do people like those? I have no
ALD
idea.
co-signed it.
You know, good for New Balance, good for ALD pulling that off, but I would never buy that shoe. It's just, and then you have people buying it because they think they're awesome. And then I go back and I go, oh, 8 years ago, you were making fun of me for wearing cross trainers, dude. Because I'm like you, Garet, Bose, Agassiz, those still resonate with me. I love those shoes.
Dion.
Yeah, cross trainers, right? They have the Griffey's coming out again, like I think a week or two, right? I really actually want that shoe really bad. But like, take this same guy that was complaining about cross trainers like 6 years ago. Oh, now you like them because ALD's name is on it, and like, you know what I mean?
But think about where that's coming from, though. Like you have, and here's another. Just my mind's just going wild with this. ALD's in New York, right? How many people live in New York City? How many people have extra time on their hands in New York City? They were in a quarantine probably, unfortunately, longer than everybody. And now they get to go outside, and now you go into ALD and you see these trendy 550s down there. And, you know, now everybody has them, right? And you're creating, they're selling to this group of people who's going to put it on Instagram and put it out there in the world. And now you got to, you know, again, the hype folks are chasing it. And then, you know, people trying to flip them, like the 997s with the ALD 997s that someone's trying to get me for right now. But then did you see that New Balance just put out a whole new slew of 550s that just don't say ALD on them? Yeah. And they're $80, right? Are they $80?
Yeah, they're $80. They're sitting.
They did name a pair of the Shadows, which I much respect, ripping off the Jordan 1 and then just saying, we're just gonna call it Shadow. It's black and gray. We're gonna call this the Shadow. Call the other one the Bulls or something. That would be cool.
You know, well, you can always just take a permanent marker and write ALD on the 550. You know, just like my dad did for me when he bought me. I wanted Air Force Ones as a kid, and I had a few pairs, but I beat him up so bad that he ended up buying me a white pair of like knockoff Fava, if you remember that store, Air Force Ones, and he drew a swoosh on it. So my dad was doing it before fucking Virgil was doing it. You know what I mean?
He was writing your name on the sole before Virgil thought it was cool for you.
But New Balance had the CT 1500, and that dropped. I don't know when that dropped, but that was sitting at outlets for forever. And I ended up getting a pair of those for like, you know, $40. And it was like, people were like, what are those? And I'm like, they were there when you didn't care. And like the 550 was, you know, it's only a big deal because Teddy's told you it was. It's not a big deal. Like, it's really not a big deal because you don't really care. You care that Teddy tells you it's good, right? And so that's why people liked it. Like, and so, you know, I thought, to me, the CT 1500 is a little bit of a better shoe. It's a lot more comfortable. It looks a little bit more old manish, but like I think it's like if you like the 550, there's no reason you wouldn't like that, right? Yep. And so there's no reason why one is sitting at the outlets and one is like, you know, $300 on StockX. There's just it doesn't make any sense.
That's the one I asked you whose closet you got it out of.
We've always.
I was like, whose closet did you get that out of? I think I know him.
We've all gone to like a store where there's something marked down considerably, and you're like, oh shit! Only I don't love this shoe, but it's only like $30. I'm buying it.
Those are awful.
That's a Jim
great.
That's a Jim Sousa special janitorial shoe.
They're great.
Oh, those are. I'm pretty sure my dad is mowing his lawn right now wearing those. Those are awful. And
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
I think
so
after I
good.
saw,
They're good. They're good. In hand, they're good. The leather is amazing. And
The
they're
leather.
I think I saw when you. I think I looked them up on eBay and they were like $12 after I saw that you had them.
You paid too much, Dave.
I did get ripped.
You got totally ripped off. And but somebody probably heard you, and now that shoe that you bought there is now $150. and they will never wear them. Hey, I wanted to ask y'all a question earlier because I'm going to be the old man. I think it's whack if you're sitting on someone else's grill and you don't wear that size. Am I wrong in this? Y'all understand what I'm saying here?
Yeah, I get it.
I will only wear a 9, so I won't wear an 8.5. I won't wear a 9.5. Is it okay to sit on someone's grill that's not your size?
I'm with you.
Sit is the optimal word because I have some shoes that, well, I'm trying to think. I know that I have a few shoes that are just a little small. I don't have any too big, but I do have a few. No, I do have one shoe that's too big, but most of my shoes are 12.5, 13. But I know, so for New Balance, their sizing is weird. So some things I can fit a 12, and then sometimes a 12 is too tight. But they don't make a 12.5 and everything, which would be perfect. So I have a lot of 12s in certain things, but I wear everything. I don't care. I'll take out the insole and I'll wear it, but that's just because I can't find a 13 or I can't find a 12.5. So I wear everything, and that to me is different. I'm not going to buy something that I can't fit or that I won't wear because I know that it's too small. Just like the Stray Rats, I love that shoe. It was amazing. I really wanted it, and then I got it. And it was a 12, and I just couldn't do it. It was way too tight, and I sold it. I wasn't gonna sit on it, and they were selling for $400 at the time, and I sold it for retail. Why would I do that? That's just the asshole thing to do.
I had the same issue with the 992s that came out earlier this year or last year. I keep forgetting we're in 2021, but the multicolor ones, I got them off Champs. There was some discount at the time. And they were $130 or something, right? And I ordered a size 9, and they get here, and I put them on, and I'm like, these things feel freaking narrow as hell, and they're why is this not fitting me? You know what I mean? I was kind of why is this not fitting me? I returned them. I sent them back to Champs and told them get me a 9.5 instead. You know what they did? They never actually sent me the pair. They just credited my card and said, we're just not going to send you. And they still had them. They just credited my card. So I automatically said, well, it's not meant to be. I don't want them then, So no, I would never ever hold a shoe like that. I'm a firm believer in if you can't wear something, make sure somebody else can. I think, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, that's a good question though.
Because I think again, and this is where my old man is coming out of me. I see people out there that are sitting on things that, that others want, right? And it's not their size, and it might be a size off or whatever. And I'm with you, Dave. Some things fit me differently. Like I said, I was very disappointed the Kith 998. I love that shoe. It's a great shoe. It was a half size too big. It almost felt clown shoe to me. And New Balance has this sometimes, depending on which collab it is or whatever it is, that 998 doesn't fit the same way. And
which shoe is that one? Which Ronnie?
The dark blue one, the blue and baby blue one.
The CL colorway.
Okay, so you know what it is? Because New Balance changed their molds, I think, right around that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I had for me because I think that was right after the
KT, that one.
Yeah, because how old are those?
A year old, I think.
Oh, they're not that old then. Okay, forget what I was gonna say. Because when the tanneries came on the C notes, the molds changed. So I think the shoes actually ended up getting smaller. So initially I was like, or bigger, actually should be bigger, because the tanneries I have are 9.5 and they fit great. But then all of a sudden, the next year after, when the Grand Tours came out, the 9.5 was so big in that shoe, but it could have been the toe box too. But I noticed that a lot of those 9.8s, I went back down to a 9 after. But then again, I haven't really, like the ones I was showing before, these actually they didn't feel bad last year, but they felt a little more tight. So I don't know what they're doing with their molds. They must be messing with their molds or something, but could be, man. You just got to different. It's weird. Some New Balances is like, I'm a 9, 9.5. If they look at Asics, I'm a 10 in Asics in gel light, like 3s and 5s. Makes no sense. But I think different models call for different sizing, Those Hieros you were talking about before, I have a pair of those. I'm a 9.5 in those.
I'm interested in trying. I feel like I've gone too heavy in New Balance, and so I am interested in jumping into some of those. I guess higher end. Like right now, I want that Eastern Bluebird from Diodora. That's gonna be my entry shoe into that because it's a really great shoe.
The high snobiety, the one with the Hick method. Yeah, that's a beautiful shoe. It's a great shoe.
And I want that to be my jump off, but I have looked at the pricing because someone hit me to looking at those kangaroos, what's those marijuana ones that just came out that everybody
sneaker box.
Yeah. And then I'm with you though. I saw that number and I was like, I'm not paying, what was it, what's the retail on that?
They're like 269, 270 something retail. And
it's like 300 euros.
300.
That's crazy. I mean, they look good, and you can tell that the quality's there. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't see me paying that. And even now, like we talked about that earlier, like some of these prices that you're seeing on New Balance, I'm just like, nah, I'm good. Like I can't do it. Like, and so maybe I'll just have to keep copping the GRs.
They need to release them.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with GRs. When I used to, in the early days of Concepts, and I used to always buy a lot of GRs there, and that's how I was able to really kind of get my in with those guys. Was this guy buys GRs too? He doesn't just buy like hype stuff. He buys GRs, and that's I like GRs. And New Balance is a perfect example of a company that makes GRs that are absolutely collab worthy kind of shoes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just bought my last New Balance I bought was that Year of the Ox 920 Year of the Ox. That's a beautiful shoe. Like that red is amazing. It's on the same level as that 992 red. Like and then the gold. Like I think the gold is money. And I would definitely, if you like that 920 pot, I'd definitely get the Year of the Ox. Like that's.
Yeah, I tried looking for those and I couldn't find my size anywhere.
I know.
I'm sure I could. I haven't looked like as hard as I could, but
you know where to look. I know a guy. I'll hook you up. You probably know the same guy
too. I know a few guys.
Yeah, they'll hook you up.
Yeah, I'm going the other way. I know Paolo doesn't want to hear it, but I'm
going to the glucony. You going towards glucony?
No, I mean, I've seen some of their stuff coming for this year, and it's going to be a good year for them.
Yeah. Hey, I don't doubt it, but you know what the problem is? Those guys don't know how to market correctly. They don't.
I don't think it's that they don't know how to market correctly. I think it's that I would say that they don't have the resources that someone like Nike has. I think Wolverine is spread very thin, right? Because Wolverine has like 10 brands. They got Sperry, they got Merrill, they got Topsider, they got all these different brands. They got Pro-Ked, all these different brands, and they're basically spending what New Balance spends on New Balance's marketing across 10 brands. And so when you're doing that, I think you're kind of you're kind of limiting what you can do, you know? So
I'll agree to disagree. Because that's bullshit. I've seen their numbers. They have plenty of money. But their brands are all losing money. What does that tell you? That's a product of sales not going correctly because the marketing is not getting done correctly.
Yeah, I mean, well, but it's also because they're not investing in marketing, right? So like,
you got to spend money to make money, my friend. You know that.
Yeah. But the reality is that Saucony actually sells more inline product than New Balance does.
I don't doubt that for a second.
Yeah, they're just at a lower price point, I think. But I think they have some good stuff, and I mean, we'll talk about them in the future. I think
I'll give them more chances. I'm not afraid to.
I think they have some really good stuff coming. They're different, man. They're just different because they're not an independent. They're not an independent thing like New Balance. I think, you know, being under Wolverine, you know, they have so many competing interests above their heads. So like it's hard to just kind of be like, all right, we're just gonna do this.
Hey, I do like their Sperry product. I do like that stuff. I bought the extra butter. I bought another extra butter Sperry collab that was on sale a few months ago. The first ones they did for $40. I was like, I'm buying it. I do like that stuff. That stuff's great.
Yeah.
I think though, if Saucony gets out there in the world, and like we were talking about earlier, and when I brought up the hamburgers, like I think if you can tell that story, like they do that really well. And there's a few of their pairs, and I have a lot of those also. So I'm not far off from you, Dave. I have a few, but I like
only in Soho is the greatest pair by Saucony.
I had it, and the problem is that was just hard to match with some things for me. But I think they are great storytellers, and their quality is really good, and they're not really, you know, to me, like I could see that trend. You know, I could see people who do like New Balances eventually going over to Saucony if they haven't heard of that. You know, and my dad was a runner, so I knew, I was well aware of Saucony with Brooks and everything else, right? And then you start seeing what they were doing with some of their silhouettes, and you're like, wow, like that's really awesome. And you know, I think the unfortunate side effect of New Balance doing better is possibly people are going to start looking for other shoes that do these collabs really well. And if you get that right collab, then we're gonna be having the same conversation about Saucony, right?
I just have this bad luck, Aaron. Whenever I order something good from Saucony, the person doing the orders are like, oh, it's Paolo. Give him those B grades we got over there. Throw those in the bottom.
They know who you are. They know who you are. Like I feel like I think Saucony they have great product. Like last year they did so many good things, but they haven't been like New Balance, where New Balance is able to string one thing into the next thing. You know, like, oh, we're gonna hit you with Salehi, and then we're gonna hit you with ALD, and then like it's just this like cascade of like, oh, there's this great product, and while people are still excited from that last release of that last great product, we're gonna hit you with another great product. There's just too much space in between where you're like, all right, I'm not even thinking about them. I want something, so I'm gonna go somewhere else, right? Like, you know, I'm looking at what they released last year, and they had like, you know, they did the Raised by Wolves collaboration, which I thought was pretty good. And then they had like the Azuras and the Jazz, and like they just like no one collaborated on those. Nobody was like, hey, let's do something on these. It wasn't like something that like really hit the market. And then
they should have asked me. I would have collaborated with them.
Hey, I would have collaborated with them.
I think you bring up a good point though. Who they collab with could be holding them back too, though. Like if you're not into sneakers, how many people know what End is, right? And so when you have a really cool pair like the, what is it, Saucony Grid, 8,500, whatever, the lobsters, like that's an awesome shoe. Like, you know, I have a pair of those, and then the people they collab with at times are so obscure. Like, did you have those pair that came out of that little shoe store and was it South Carolina mustard ones.
The sneaker CHS, yep.
I mean, those are cool, but how many people know what that is? And how many people would know about that? And I'm not saying that, not everyone knows who Bait is and things of that nature, but they tend to do collabs at times with people that you've never heard of, or you got to squint really hard to see them, And I think you need to get into some of these popular ones, and like what Ubic. I have both of the pairs of the Ubics. What is it? Pacific Dusk, and I forgot what the name of the other one is. I mean, they put out great shoes, and I'm with you. Like I said, my favorite pair of shoes is probably those hamburgers. But what End did those, right? But again, how many people have in the United States know what End is? I hear people complaining about how poor they do at shipping from London. That's what you hear about End.
Yeah.
But maybe Paolo's right in that part of like the poor job they do at advertising. Part of that is the poor people. I mean, the poor brands that you do collabs with. You're not, I think when I think of collabs, I think concepts, and if Stray Rats is pretty new to the game, but they're hitting home runs, like that. They got me thinking about buying another pair of 574s, and you can get those for cheap, like those was it the green ones and the
purple.
Yeah,
I don't ever want to wear a 574 ever again in my life.
Ever again.
No, I will, because if you follow me on the Instagram, you saw me come up with those ball and bucks. Those ball and bucks are sick though. And
they're a great shoe. I just like Paolo. Like I grew up with 574s. That was like the shoe you'd go get, 2 for $60 or 2 for $50 or whatever, and you just have them. And so like now I'm at the point where it's like I've done it so much that I'm kind of like, I never want to see a 574 again. Like I think the closest I'll get is like a 570.
There's, the 577s that have caught a little bit of traction. I don't like those. Like they're kind of narrow in my foot, like the heel of my foot. And I've got rid of a lot of them. And to me, like you just got to find that one that fits well. And I understand the idea of the cheapness, if you will, of the 574 and how many you probably had. But and I only have probably 3 or 4 pairs beyond the ball and bucks, and like I think you just find the right one, right? The one that like speaks to you. And those, we talk about chasing shoes. I was chasing shoes for a while, and like Paolo, like, I'm glad to know he wears size 9, so I know who to hit up for 9s when they start getting rid of them. I only know so many people that like, there's certain things that I want. Like I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about those Clark Kents. There's probably only 6 or 7 Clark Kents in a size 9. And I know.
You know what I do have a pair of that they've probably only been worn once? Do you have the Tyrians?
The 990 V2s?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
I would do something for you good with those. Hit me up if you want them.
Okay, appreciate that.
I have the special wooden box that came in too. Although they actually don't fit in that box.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you saw the box that. Do you remember that, Dave? The Tyrian shoe?
Yeah.
They had a wooden box. It was only like 8 or 9 of them made or something like that. But the shoe actually did not fit inside the box.
What?
Yeah, so it was supposed to only hold one shoe, like for displaying.
Oh, gotcha.
No, you couldn't fit both in it.
Oh, that's right, because it was kind of narrow. Yeah.
No, yeah, like that's y'all. You live right there. That's a great. People to know.
I wish.
Where you living now?
Next door to Dave.
Oh, so you're living in Connecticut?
Yeah.
I mean, I still know some people there, just like you do, huh? Because I've asked a couple of people when some concept things drop to see what they could do, because I have been buying too much resale pricing lately. But every once in a while you catch a good number, and so
that's part of getting older. You realize that, like, what, I'm not gonna pay resale. Fuck this. You just move on. Like, move on to the next. I have a hard time when people get really mad about a shoe release that they don't get. I'm like, just move on, man. They're just shoes. It's not a big deal. It's not a loaf of bread. It's not a big deal,
Yeah, but I think it goes back to what we were saying though, that people want something and they, something catches their eyes and they can't get it, and it takes you out off your game and out of the market that you want to be in, especially, like we talked about Eric earlier. I mean, he's a volume buyer, right? A lot of us are volume buyers. Just look behind Dave there. We're volume buyers, and you like what you like, and you want to have accessibility to those shoes. And you bring up the Tyrians, like that's one of my favorite models. Like the 990 V2s are like
that's probably the greatest purple shoe New Balance ever done.
It's a pretty shoe. I knew exactly what you were talking about because I've been digging through those lately and seeing
the quality is like unbelievable. It just is. It's so plush. It's ridiculous.
That's concepts for you,
guys. I would love to stay longer, but I have to go eat my dinner.
It's good. Great talking to y'all. I appreciate Dave, you asking me to be on this. I love chopping it up, talking shoes.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, there's not a big community in Dallas that like you get to speak to people about things
See you guys.
you enjoy. So thank you, sir.
Yeah, no problem. See you, Paolo.